instead of your stomach. No, you're in a fucking red state. My solution's to go and get a gun and sleep with that shit under my pillow, right? Waiting for this motherfucker to try and tickle my butthole so I could blast him in his face. I don't understand how he got past like guy number 2, right? Because as soon as this became like a thing, right? As soon as this became like, hey, there's a guy tickling buttholes around here. Like, you gotta say it, and you know, you have a wife and kid, and like, you just gotta tell your wife, like, I mean, if your wife is that type that's just like, you know, she tries to tickle your butthole every now and then, and you're just like, whoa, 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 right? If she's that type, you just got to tell her, babe, you got to sleep in the other room. Like, if you can't help yourself, right, and you got to try and tickle my butt, you got to sleep in the other room. You know what I mean? Because as soon as that shit happens, like, there's not going to be any whoa, whoa, whoa anymore. I'm firing. I'm pulling the trigger, right? I mean, if this was happening in Rhode Island, I mean, we're a blue state, okay? Most of us don't have guns. I'm not saying I could see it being a thing, but I mean, if somebody sneaks into your house, tickles your butthole, and takes off, you know, if you're like me, you're a little overweight, you're probably not going to catch the guy, you know, whatever, right? C'est la vie. He tickled my butthole and got away. But I'm chasing that motherfucker with something heavy. I'm trying to fucking get this guy, right? Now, but you're not in Rhode Island, you're not in a blue state, you have a fucking gun. I know you do, because I can't picture a household in Texas that doesn't have a gun, right? Am I wrong? And what reason would you have for having a gun? A lot of people say it's to protect my family, it's to protect myself. Self-defense, right? Against what? Somebody else with a gun? Right? Because guess what? Somebody breaks into my house. Chances are they have a gun. And chances are they have a better gun than I have, because their gun is something that they probably stole, right? And my gun is something that I could probably barely afford to buy. So that's that, right? So they probably have some kind of automatic weapon, right? I'm probably rocking a revolver or some shit. And, you know, like, they're going to come in. I'm going to have to fucking load my shit, because, you know, you don't keep the bullets in the gun, right? Because you don't want your kid to shoot himself or some shit, right? So you gotta fucking load the shit. You gotta find, well, the bullets are probably in a safe somewhere. You gotta probably open the safe, load it. Fucking by the time you do that shit, you're dead. So you don't have a gun for the purpose of protecting yourself against someone else with a gun. The first reason that I would own a gun, in my mind, is to shoot a motherfucker that's trying to tickle my butthole. That's one of the only things I can think of, right? Unless you're criminally insane, one of the only things that I can think of is to stop somebody that I don't want tickling my butthole, like, use the gun on that motherfucker. And they didn't. Like, it was just like, oh, I'll just turn over, right? Like, so you're going to provide access to the other stuff that you wouldn't mind him tickling? Like, I don't get it. I just don't get it. If you live in Texas or Dallas and you have something you can use to enlighten me on this shit, please go for it, because I'm into it. No, listen, you know what I mean. I don't mean I'm into it like, you know, tickle my butthole. I'm saying I'm into hearing about, you know, why you would allow this to happen. You know, tweet me, you know, leave a comment on the site, something to that effect. Next thing on the list, because I'm done talking about assholes, or am I? Very sad fucking week, man. New York Giants head coach Tom Coughlin has stepped down after another losing season. You get 2 in a row, 6-10. You know, of course they're gonna call you in the front office and have that conversation with you. And Coughlin was, you know, the man as usual, and just stepped up and said, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna make it easy on you. I'm gonna turn around and walk away." Right? And I have my suspicions as to why that happened and why that conversation took place. And they were all but confirmed when Jerry Reese took the mic. See, this is where we tie into the whole asshole thing. Jerry Reese takes the mic and basically says, you know, throws Tom Coughlin under the bus. First he says, "Oh, I'm going to take full responsibility for the personnel that we had and blah, blah, blah. You know, I am the general manager and I drafted these people." And then in the same fucking breath turns around and says, But it's up to the coach to take what we have and just run with it and win and get wins. And that didn't happen. So blah, 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 blah. I'm an asshole. Right. So I'm really upset that Jerry Reese is still a part of this organization right now. That could change. Mara and Tish, I don't know. I'm a little, I'm heartbroken right now because Tom Coughlin was the man. The dude was awesome. He was like, I just loved watching him. He was very passionate about what he did. He cared about his team and the team cared about him. And like, we didn't lose because he did a shitty job coaching. There were a lot of factors involved and, you know, you really can't pinpoint one thing, but I can tell you for sure, a lot of it had to do with a lack of depth. So, you know, on the surface, we had tons of talent, but as soon as you start losing pieces to injury or suspension or whatever have you, there was nothing underneath to come up to the surface and start playing. They didn't play. So, you know, I say goodbye to Coughlin. It's a fond farewell. You know, I'm sad to see him go, but I really, really do wish him the best. I want him to, you know, land somewhere, coach a team outside of the NFC East so that I can actually watch it and enjoy watching him coach again. Listen to his press conferences. This guy's friggin' hilarious. Awesome. What a coach, man. Gonna miss him. And hopefully we bounce back and we get a decent coach to take his place. Because if it's not an A-list coach, then it was all for nothing. And speaking of all for nothing, great segue there. Looks like TNT is not going to move ahead with a Teen Titans show. Teen Titans, if you don't know, that's the superhero group that consists of Nightwing, Beast Boy, Arsenal, Cyborg, Starfire, and Raven. And sometimes some others, you know, that flex in and out. You might have Kid Flash and whatnot, but they were actually going to do a live action TV show that had all of those characters, and it would have been pretty awesome. But, you know, again, it's not happening. This was a rumor for a long time. It was actually planned for a long time under the old regime, and they kind of left it in, you know, stasis and finally decided to pull the plug. So sad to see that happen, but, you know, at least we didn't get any, like, you know, footage or, you know, pictures of what this stuff was going to be like or actual plots, because if I knew what was coming and I knew, you know, what to expect, I think it would sting a lot more if I wasn't going to get it. Now that I'm not going to get it anyway. So that's that. In the same vein on TNT, what they are doing is a Tales from the Crypt remake. That's going to be by M. Night Shyamalan. That's going to actually be a series on the show. He's actually going to get a 2-hour block of horror on, you know, it's going to happen once a week on TNT. And that seems pretty interesting. I mean, there's no real details as far as, you know, what it's going to entail or how it's going to work. But that 2-hour block is going to consist of some long form and short form storytelling. And I'm guessing that the Tales from the Crypt stuff is going to be the short form stuff. You're going to get some little short stories here and there, like interspersed throughout the 2-hour block. But, you know, we'll see how that works out and how it happens, because it sounds very interesting. I haven't seen The Visit yet. That's something I plan on watching tonight. You know, me and Court are going to sit down and watch some movies and stuff, and I think that that's going to be one of them. So I'll let you know how that is and, you know, what I think about him doing some horror stuff on TV. But I think his stuff is more suited for TV than it is for movies. So it should be interesting. I'm really fucking, like, not pumped about it, but I'm going to check it out. It's one of those things that, you know, it's got my attention. Also, some bad news, some more bad news. George R.R. Martin actually confirmed recently that Winds of Winter, the 6th novel in the Game of Thrones series, it's not going to be ready before Game of Thrones season 6 begins, which kind of fucking sucks, because that means, you know, HBO is now going to have to kind of scramble and write their own tale, because they've been following the books all along, and they've been kind of stretching out some of the source material to accommodate certain things and accommodate, you know, George R.R. Martin's slow ass when it comes to writing these books. And now we just know that it's not going to be ready. So we're either going to not get another season of Game of Thrones until the book is ready, or HBO is going to go their own way, and we don't know how that's going to work. So either way, it could be shit. But, who knows? Who knows how HBO is going to do on their own, without having any source material to follow. But let's just say that we have to wait. That's going to fucking suck. So thanks, George. But I get it. All right. So here's the thing. As a writer, because I do write, I don't have anything published. Let's put it that way. But I write. I have stuff. And I know what he's talking about. Like he basically says that, you have your good days and you have your bad days. And he's had more bad days than good days recently and hasn't really been able to, get that fire going. And I get it. Like, you don't want to do subpar shit. So you don't like sit there and just force, a bunch of shit onto the page, right? You're going to sit there, you're going to take your time. And if it's not coming out, you're not going to force it. You're going to stop and you're just going to go and fucking do something else. I'm going to go eat some ice cream, maybe write something else, and then come back to it because this is your baby. You're so close to it and you don't want to deliver crap. And speaking of delivering crap, I have got nothing for that. I mean, I should have waited. You know what? This is where I should have started talking about the guy in Dallas, right? Tickle and Buttholes delivering crap. That would have been a good fucking segue, but whatever. Let's just pretend that I did that. Daredevil Season 2 is coming out on March 18th. The previous consensus was that it was going to be March 25th, but we're going to get it a little bit earlier. So I'm pretty psyched about that. They've got a little bit of a teaser trailer. And by teaser, I mean it fucking teases you because all it is a bunch of paintings of scenes from the previous season. And it pans out and you see this like Punisher skull. And in the middle of it all, you have a flaming Daredevil. And underneath that, you have, the cast or the lineup basically with Daredevil smack dab in the middle. Let's just say that, I was thoroughly fucking underwhelmed by this. It was beautiful to look at. It was actually stunning, but I mean, it did nothing for me as far as season 2 is concerned. I would have much rather had seen paintings of things or scenes of things coming up in season 2. Because that would have been more of a fucking trailer for season 2, right? Instead of a recap of season 1. So yeah, I'm a little disappointed about that. But we all know that it's going to be awesome because it's Netflix, it's Marvel, it's like peanut butter and jelly. So fucking great, right? But before we get Daredevil, we're going to see Marvel's Agent Carter. January 19th is the premiere date, and it's ABC. It's Marvel. It's bananas and peanut butter. It's the 1950s. It's women's rights. It's, people fighting and throwing punches and shooting guns. It's, Peggy Carter being better than anybody gives her credit for just because she's a woman. It's Howard Stark's butler, Jarvis, who Tony named his AI after. It's just going to be an awesome show. And I remember last season was great. This season should be just as good. Same actors are coming back. So, I'm excited and you should be too. So check that out. And then that should roll us right into February, which is going to give us Deadpool. Yeah, buddy. There was a pretty cool new poster that came out, or maybe it was a digital poster. I don't know if it's actually something that they're hanging up, but it's basically Deadpool standing in front of the Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman posters that they have out in the theaters now for Batman v Superman, and he's basically spray painted over each of them. On Batman's face, he spray paints Heath Ledger's Joker face, and then on Wonder Woman, he just spray paints a bunch of hearts, right? And then on Superman's chest, he spray paints the Deadpool symbol. So it's actually, it's fucking hilarious. And he's just kind of like, looking at the camera mischievously, breaking that fourth wall. So they not only have gotten the character right, but they're showing us through their marketing how they're planning on breaking the fourth wall, which is pretty fucking great. It's awesome. Good for them and good for Ryan Reynolds because we know that this is all his doing. Pretty much everything that Deadpool is right now as far as the movie is concerned. I'm not talking about the comics. Sorry, Jerry. I'm not Jerry Duggan. I am not taking any credit away from you. Your comics are awesome. But everything that Deadpool is in the movie right now is thanks to Ryan's. Thanks to